His boss took him as a running mate, and they ran the presidency, governed this country for 2 terms. Now he's a president. So you have been given all those opportunities, and then you say, oh, this country is lagging behind because of poor leadership. He's a poor leadership. Actually, he's talking about himself. I know he's talking about. The man is talking about himself. The man is talking about his failure. You know, Jadel, we are people with bad manners. We believe in creating wealth by not working. So the only short route to becoming wealthy in this country is by stealing public funds. Shortcut. Because where, like Prof said, my senior, where can you make billions by making some loaf of bread? Where can you make billions by selling eggs and chicken? Is that the only thing that he can think of doing? Renovating State House? Is that a priority? Surely, Jadel.
But I think they were saying it was in bad condition.
Which bad condition? How stupid can people be? What level of stupidity is this?
A very good day to you. Welcome to Philip Kisia Unscripted. My name is Jadel Cabero for our usual political conversation. The conversation for today is about our economy. We're talking about efficiency over excesses, charting the course for economic renewal. President William Ruto this week said, Kenya is late in development due to bad leadership and corruption. I am ready to deal with all this. Our conversation comes as Kenyans are looking for a way to scrap some few taxes, looking for economic renewal. But the latest project that we saw from the office of the president is the reconstruction, or is it the upgrading of State House at 795 million Kenya shillings. We want to start from there with Philip Kisia, former leadership and governance expert, former Nairobi Town Clerk leadership and governance expert. I'm speaking too much, but Kisia, how are you doing today?
Well, Jadel, I'm good. I hope also you are enjoying your Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're not a Muslim, but for my Muslim brothers, I wish them a happy Friday.
Happy Friday, yes, indeed. But Kenyans are looking for a way to look at this issue of economy. And we talk about State House, people thinking 795 million shillings, Kisia, really. Are we in a bad place as a country economically, or are we just in a place of excesses and wastage?
You know, Jadel, I think, first of all, even before we get into the program and deal with issues of excesses, I don't know how this clip. Last week it was in Nyandarua. People seem to be passing a message. I think it was this week or last week. The president was in Trans Nzoia. Just play that clip. There's a message the people of the Republic of Kenya are passing to this administration. And I think, if I get them correctly, they are saying, we are tired of you.
What are you interpreting from this video?
You know, when you have felt short of the expectations, because you know they voted you in based on the promises that you made. When you have failed to deliver on almost all the promises that you made, other than just appointing the judges on a stroke of a pen, That's the only one that you've succeeded 100%. Yeah. But all the others, you have failed in total. Or you've made them maybe just partially. You are likely to meet members of public who are disgruntled, who are unhappy, who would want to get you out of office like yesterday. I see the anger within the Kenyan population increasing by the day because they cannot make ends meet. The schools opened, children at home, they have no fees to pay. The fees structure was reviewed upward, not downward, as they had expected. They have no money to pay to buy books. They have no money to buy a uniform. They have no food to put on the table. You know, everything has gone out of the window. So you, you know, I get this sense and feeling that some revolution is actually forming.
Oh.
Yes.
Every time Kenyans chant or do the way they were acting when the president is talking, this is revolution beckoning.
You see, you know, ahead of any government, ahead of a nation, is a symbol of unity, is a sign of hope. But when people seem to be losing hope in you, they get impatient, they get agitated, you know, and when you're pushing them to a corner, to the point that they're losing hope, the only thing that is left is to uprise against you, deal with you the way you're supposed to be dealt with, and probably through that intervention, provide a solution. Because Kenyans are tired.
No,
I have not met any Kenyan, other than the few clique of fellows surrounding him, a few of them, who are enjoying. In fact, even guys in his own backyard are suffering. Because we talk to them on a daily basis. They're suffering. And they're not apologetic about it. They're saying, you know, I mean, we made a hell of a mistake in giving, in experimenting. So the experiment has backfired. Things are not working. You know, guys are getting desperate by the day. So things are getting worse by the day. The amount of Kenyans who cannot put food on the table. I mean, if you just, I mean, it's terrible.
So you see that, Philip Kise, you see that, and then you hear that State House is being upgraded at 795 million shillings. Then you wonder, is the economy bad or is something wrong somewhere?
You know, Jadel, you know, I mean, sometimes I fail to think. I just fail to understand. I fail to understand why somebody in his right senses can even do what this administration is doing. The economy has been battered. We are in bad space. We're even borrowing. We continue borrowing. Even, you know, he had assured us that he will never borrow. Just yesterday, a facility has been given, and we have been allowed to draw down 100 billion.7. Just yesterday, we've been given a facility by IMF of 150. And you know, by the time IMF is intervening, it means that you are already in ICU.
Oh.
Now, yes, IMF doesn't come in. IMF is not a, IMF, you know, this is, you know, guys are in ICU. Let us see whether we can get them out. But the IMF has never gotten anybody out of ICU. As a matter of fact, any interventions that they've come up with, it's you know, a hole deeper than what you already have. So they keep on digging the hole.
But the president says our economy is stabilizing. So
if your economy, you see, I mean, listen, Jadel, if you're doing well, even you at a personal level, at a very, you know, at this level, if you're doing well, will you go borrowing? You only borrow because you're doing badly. Most of the time you borrow because you're doing badly. And the borrowing you're doing is actually not money to go into infrastructure. Actually, we are borrowing money to pay other loans. But let us get to the point, the question that you had asked me. First of all, it is bad manners. And I think this is why people must be careful giving people jobs that are beyond them. giving certain jobs to somebody with a small mentality, village mentality. Yeah? You want to run a whole state like a chicken farm? It is dangerous. Put it this way. State House has been there for more than a century. More, I think 130, 160 years, whatever. 130 years. Okay? We have had 4 presidents before you. This is part of our national heritage. Now you wake up when the economy has been battered, we are doing so poorly, we are just beggars, we are borrowing, and you want to spend, and I can tell you, Jadel, by the time we're done with this renovation of State House, it will not be 800 million. It will probably be double that amount or triple that amount. This is how these people behave. They have no manners, they have bad manners. They are people who, I think they're just used to eating without working. So they must be reminded that State House is protected under the National Heritage Act or something. Okay? That you cannot just wake up and change design. He has been in the office for only a year and a half. Is that the only thing that he can think of doing? Renovating State House? Is that a priority? Surely, Jadel.
But I think they were saying it was in bad condition.
Which bad condition? Uhuru Muigai was born in opulence. The man is a silver spoon in his mouth. And he lived in State House. He worked from State House. Why would he spend $1 billion shillings during these times to renovate State House? And in any event, let's assume the State House is in bad space, which I doubt. I completely doubt. He has a Rambi House to work from. He can work from Mombasa State House. He can work in Sagana State. There are so many state lodges, state houses. Kisumu, I'm sure he'll be welcomed there by my neighbors. Kakamega, there's another state, So he has a lot of alternatives. Okay? So why choose to renovate that building and in this day and time, age and time? And in fact, I think, in my view, because that's a thing that is going to affect us. Because, he's just a temporary occupant of State House. Why? What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? Who gave him that idea? This is not his personal house. This is not Sogoi. This is a heritage that we have been bequeathed by people who are there before us, that we should keep it and bequeath it to the generations to come. When you have this village boy mentality, maybe you don't even understand and appreciate the design, that, some of the features there, that you don't replace wood, mahogany with Chinese tiles. You don't appreciate. You get what
the vintage look.
You don't. And this is a Victorian thing. You just want. You don't. I mean, you have never imagined. The best for you is not this Victorian design. These features and what have you. Is some cheap Chinese stuff. You want to bring contractors to Gonga thing and walk away with a 3 billion shilling. So, for me, that's a no. For 2 reasons, as I've said, national heritage is protected. If you must make any changes, in fact, he must take us through public participation. Yeah, he must. In fact, under public finances, you can't just work. I mean, surely, what type of government is this one? And then he talks about austerity measures, and you want to blow. And I can tell you, by the time they're done with this thing, I know these guys. By the time they're done, they're there. If 3 billion is spent, you tell me. Let's come and debate. Let's come and debate. So let him stop this, double speak. The austerity measures. Then you go and stop people from eating mandazi and the tea. And, even the guy who's supplying the mandazi, I hope they are not the same guys. But maybe there are small people supplying that mandazi. They're making, and, they're also able to survive. So stop this nonsense of spending money where it is not necessary. It's not urgent.
But a conversation for today, we're looking at efficiency over taxes. When you look at Tanzania's State House in Dodoma, was constructed from scratch at a cost of 175 million. Ours upgrading is 700 and something million. And then you talk about something like SGR. you know, Jimmy Wanjigi was saying, look, it was supposed to cost, I think, 300 million. It was supposed to cost 55 billion, and it cost us 300
You are still thinking millions.
Billion.
It cost billion.
And this is Kenya. Now we want to know, is this a problem with evaluation? Is this corruption? Or what disease is eating us that every single time we have to do a small project, even if it's a big project, you have to triple the cost of production and construction?
You know, Jadel, we are people with bad manners. We believe in creating wealth by not working. So the only short route to becoming wealthy in this country is by stealing public funds. Shortcut. Because where, like Prof said, my senior, where can you make billions by making some loaf of bread? Where can you make billions by selling eggs and chicken? Billions of shillings, billions of dollars. Where? How is it possible? And if it is possible, why can't you share that knowledge with other Kenyans so that you can make even hundreds of shillings? It is pure theft. I am telling you, Jadel.
So it's not excesses?
It is not even excesses, it's theft. A project is costed in this country where you're supposed to spend maybe 100 million, you end up spending 2 billion shillings. How? This is theft. There's no other way to describe this, Jadel, but stealing of public resources to enrich yourselves and your cronies. Period.
So
how on earth a project that was estimated to cost maybe 60 billion ends up costing double, three times the amount? How? How can you explain? And you're happy and you're walking freely in this town? I think we lack morals. And let me tell you, Jadel, you know, to fix this country, I had William talking about he's the one to fix this country. He cannot fix this country because he's part of the problem. In fact, to fix this country, you need somebody who's fairly straight, radical in thinking. And if I was to give him the chance, Jadel, I would do things that you don't imagine.
Everyone says that.
Let me tell you.
I think the city is hotter than you think.
I can tell you. Let me tell you. The first thing is also to look at the possibilities of getting the shortest route, not to dispatch people to heaven, but to take them to committee. Because they have stolen public funds. Some of them have murdered. Some of them have done things that are unforgivable. In fact, God is just allowing them to continue breathing on earth so that they continue making mistakes, so that he can wait for them as he will dispatch them, not us. God will dispatch them to heaven and they'll burn in fire. Because they're going to burn in fire for the sins that they have committed to mankind on earth. Stealing, thieving. Look at, you say you want to progress like Singapore, a very rich country. Look at the way they cost their projects. The projects are implemented within the budget. In fact, when you want to know whether somebody is prudent as a manager, one of the principal thing is that any project that you execute must be done within the time framework that is given, within the budget that you've been given, and the quality that was agreed. No shortcut. Look at these projects. The quality is poor, extremely poor. It's been overcosted. It has spent the taxpayer 4 times the amount of money. Everything is wrong.
Now, we get to this place where we are, Philip, and we're looking at NSSF, which has been increased. We're looking at housing levy, which the courts ruled that the government can continue until the ruling of 25th. We're looking at 16% VAT, taxes collected. We have so much money being collected, and we're not seeing anything in return. Is it that we are so much in debt that we cannot develop this country, or purely poor leadership?
There are two things, Jadel. One, I think, is the issue of You know, 100% of zero is zero. You cannot milk a cow that is dying. You have not fed the cow. Cow is dying, and you're trying to milk. You'll get some little, a mixture of some little milk and blood. Eventually the thing will die. So what the economy needs to be thriving. The economy needs to be working for people to do business. When people do business, like it happened during the Kibaki regime, there will be money for all of us. There will be money for the people in business. There will be money to be taxed. People will be happy to pay taxes. But when you have nothing to tax, what are you taxing? So 100% of zero is zero. You cannot tax people to death. What this regime is doing is taxing people to death. Companies are moving out of Kenya. People have no jobs. Yeah. Eventually, they'll be left alone. I hope they can tax themselves to finance the budget. Secondly, the issue of leadership. And I agree with him that this country has experienced not very sound leadership for too long. That there's been lack of sound leadership. But he has been lucky. William Samoei Ruto Arap, my president, has been extremely lucky. At a very tender age, he became a member of parliament of Eldoret, is it East?
East?
I think it's East. He became an assistant minister at a very tender age in the Kanini regime. He was again given an opportunity to serve as a minister in the Kibaki Nusumukate regime. His boss took him as a running mate and they ran the presidency, governed this country for 2 terms. Now he's a president. So you have been given all those opportunities, and then you say, oh, this country is lagging behind because of poor leadership. He's a poor leadership. Actually, he's talking about himself. I don't know what he's talking about. The man is talking about himself. The man is talking about his failure. He's just short of naming himself. So yes, I agree with him. But the problem is not us. The problem is he and others who have been there.
Can't we judge him for the period he's taken power, not the period he's been before?
You have been given an opportunity to provide leadership at different stages. Tell us when you are there, as this is what I did. I can for sure tell you what I did, both in private sector and the public sector. I have a record. I can tell you what I did. Okay? So he should be telling us, but you not say, no, this country has lagged behind because of bad leadership. And you want to sort out after 30 years? You want to sort out our challenges after being part of that problem for 30 years? You are not the right guy, man. We must get the right person to now move us forward.
No,
certainly not William Ruto.
Then we ask ourselves this question that a senior lawyer put on Twitter, calling out CJ Martha Koome, $500,000 fourth official car. Our public leaders, our leaders out there, how much they're spending for themselves. And we need to get to a place of understanding how can we get to chartering a good place, our economic renewal. Is it by this caliber of leaders? And what should we do as a people?
You know, Jadel, it is sad. Let me first of all draw a parallel. Just look at advanced countries and how much they allocate in OPEX, or rather operational expenses. It's minimal. Just look at the Prime Minister of Britain. That's an advanced country. Look at the Prime Minister for Japan. Look at the Prime Minister and the President of Singapore. Just look at those. Look at India. Economies, I don't know, 50 times bigger than ours.
Yes.
Look at them. Look at what they spend on operation expenses. I don't want to single out Justice Koome, because she's just one amongst the few. We should stop this extravagance. It was too extravagant. We are living large. We are living in opulence, and yet we are poor. We are beggars. We're just beggars. How on earth do you have state officers riding motor vehicles worth 50 million shillings? Even the president, I'm told, I don't know that it's true, that another car was ordered for him for 75 million shillings. How on earth can you drive in a machine that is worth that much when we don't have classrooms? Classrooms! People, children in the 21st century are still learning under trees. And you as a head of state, you as a chief justice, you as a speaker are riding. You have no shame. You don't feel ashamed that you are living in such opulence. You are so extravagant, and people have no food, and you are a beggar. You keep on borrowing. How can you do this? So, if we are to move forward, these are some of the excesses that we must look into as a nation. I can give you my own example, because I think it's important. When I took over City Hall, I was the chief executive. I was actually the town clerk and the chief executive officer. I never bought a single furniture. What I did, before I got in, I cleaned the carpet. Just cleaning. I got a company to clean the place. I reduced the furniture. And when people got in, they were asking me, hey man, you have renovated this place. I said, no, nothing. I've reduced furniture. I've cleaned. The place looks a bit more organized. It's airy. The lights are on. There's nothing to hide. I said, oh. I was, in fact, when I went, found the car allocated to the CEO was an old C-class Mercedes, very old. It could break down on the roadside. So I used my personal vehicle, not even fueling, not even servicing, using government funds. Yes, because I said, I can't. I could be going for a meeting and this thing breaks down, and we don't have money. So I felt, I said, yes, the office entitles me to certain things, privileges, a good motor vehicle. But should I be buying a vehicle when my people have no salaries? Should I? So I said, no. Do you know, 6 months to my exit, or just a year before, but the council has said, no, we cannot allow our chief executive officer, but now we are stabilized. Mind you, it was not a priority to me, but we are stabilized. My councillors are the ones who said, no, it is not about you. We must buy your motor vehicle. So by the time done through the procurement process and blah, 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 it was about 7 months before I left office.
That's when you got...
And yes, and I think the car was 7-8 million shillings that time. Okay?
And now we're looking at our...
Now, you have a president who is saying austerity measures. You have, but they're still living large, using public funds. They need to borrow from people who are well organized, people whose economies are doing very well, people who can live that life. But because they know they are serving the public, their first engagement, their first assignment is to serve the public and not to serve themselves.
Then before we wrap up, I'd want to know, I asked you if this is a disease, have we been infected? Is it curable? Because even now when you walk in the streets, people would call you Mheshimiwa Kisia, tupe kitu. If these people even get into these positions of power, they'll still behave as those in power. Can we get to that place of, not living large and doing some service to the country?
You can. It's a matter of choice. Because you see, these are not your funds. These are public funds. When you are living lavishly, I just wish it was your own money. These are your own resources. You can live you choose to live the way you are living. Nobody will be bothered. But when you are using public funds, use them sparingly. Prioritize to areas where we can grow the economy, where we can touch the mwananchi, where the mwananchi can be served. Okay? Because we are so wasteful. In fact, if we just manage our budget properly, because we collect quite a bit of money, if we are not wasteful, we don't need to overtax our people. But we're overtaxing our people because we're wasteful. We are in the choppers. Even ministers are, from here. You see, Jadel, I think it's stupidity. A few months ago, this administration decided that they're going to plant some trees. A good idea, because I believe in planting trees, Jadel. In fact, when I was riding the city, you will not cut a branch without my permission. So I believe in what they want to do. But you can imagine ministers who are being ferried in choppers to plant one tree. How stupid can people be? What level of stupidity is this?
It's actually
can't you drive? Or can't you allow the DC who's there to plant? If you must, if the car has no fuel, you have a representative, regional commissioner or something. They have officials on the ground, but you are spending billions of shillings to do things that don't make sense. So I think it's a mixture of stupidity. But if you ask me, it is more of trying to steal public funds by creating some activity that does not exist. And if it does exist, it does not add value to people.
All right, what a place to wrap up our conversation this Friday. As we head over to the weekend, we have to think about how we can stop wastage and stop theft.
Yeah, you see, Jadel, let me end by saying that if, especially this administration, does not stop these bad manners of living in opulence, yet the poor are suffering. These poor people who you think you are now in total control of are surely going to turn against you. And they're going to do it fast and furious. They'll bring you down, whether you like it or not. So please, relook at yourself, review yourself, and let us start doing the right things. You took up that job knowing it's a difficult job. You did not take it. Nowhere did Wananchi tell you, we are now electing you or giving this office to enrich yourself. No, that was never part of the deal. And if you think it's part of the deal, we're coming for you, we'll deal with you, we'll make sure you go home.
We're coming for you, we will deal with you, we'll make sure you go home. That is Philip Kissi on Philip Kissi Unscripted. Efficiency over excesses, charting a course for economic renewal. Share this video with as many people as possible so that everyone knows that Kissi will come for them. Until we do talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your day.